Hey friends, it's Blair here. For us to keep telling these year one stories, we need to keep growing our audience. And if you're listening to this episode of the Year One Show and aren't a subscriber, it would be fantastic if you could subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. Now, look, we don't expect you to listen to every episode, but we just don't want you to miss out on any personal marketing, job search, and career guidance goodness when a new episode drops. So please make that click to subscribe, and thanks a bunch for your support. Now, let's get this episode started. Hey folks, it's Blair here. On this episode of the Year Ones, we're chatting with Rihanna Hosseini. In her year one, Rihanna works as a search specialist, primarily focusing on search engine optimization at the Canadian Automobile Association. This is a national not-for-profit made up of 8 regional automobile clubs that serve over 6 million members across Canada. Here, she's an in-house SEO expert for 2 automobile clubs, CAA South Central Ontario and CAA Manitoba, where she does in-page optimization for multiple websites to ensure search results in Google and other search engines are not only relevant, but also create a positive user experience. Some of the things that Reyhaneh and I discuss, how being an SEO is the most mysterious job in marketing, the practice of turning an unsuccessful job interview into a moment of positive reflection, and the importance of using simple words in marketing. So put aside those distractions, get ready to think about how these insights and tips can help you, and let's get started with this episode. Awesome. All right, Reyhaneh, well, welcome to the Year One Show. One of the questions that gets asked in most job interviews is tell us about yourself. So who are you and what do you do?
So my name is actually Reyhaneh, but I usually go by Rihanna. Right now, I work at CAA Club Group as a search specialist. My title was recently changed from SEO specialist to search specialist. SEO stands for search engine optimization. But even though my title was changed, my main focus is still SEO.
Got it. There's a few things that you've kind of led one of the questions, but before we get into sort of what you're doing, so CAA's Canadian Automobile Association, can you tell us a little bit more about that organization, what they do, and kind of your part in it? Because it's a little bit, I had to do a little bit of research to figure it out.
I know it can be confusing because it is a very large company, and honestly, I think that it is still confusing to me, but I can explain it. So, as I said, I work at CAA Club Group. It is one of the 8 automobile clubs across Canada. And in general, it started as an advocate for road safety, but now it offers a range of products and services like roadside assistance, home and auto insurance, travel services, or discounts at several retail locations. But it is mainly famous for its towing and roadside assistance services. And CAA Club Group consists of different companies. For example, CAA South Central Ontario, CAA Manitoba, and CAA Insurance and more. But I mainly work for CAA South Central Ontario and CAA Manitoba.
So they cover all of Canada, but they're operated kind of provincially or something like that.
Yes, exactly. So they are, each club is unique to their province. Each works independently, but all of those clubs are work under CAA National, which is located in Ottawa.
Got it. So then for your role, I guess maybe let's see how it evolves, because I wanted to ask, I noticed you started as an SEO specialist and now we're a search specialist. So maybe let's start there. What's the difference between the 2 roles?
Okay.
from SEO to search
So
specialist?
yeah, so the reason they did that was to gradually expand my role into Google Ads as well. So there is another person in our team whose main focus is managing Google Ads. And so I am training him on SEO and he's training me back on Google Ads. The purpose was to have a search team that knows well about all aspects of search, whether it's paid or free or organic.
Okay, so you're doing SEO, search engine optimization, and then SEM, search engine marketing, which is also the paid side of search.
Yes, I'm trying to learn that as well. Yeah, this was the reason that this happened.
Got it. So then
Yeah.
what is a typical, like, what does a week look like in the work that you do as, we'll say, as a search specialist?
So in terms of what does an SEO person do, if I want to speak high level, my goal is to bring in more quality organic or free traffic to the website through search engines like Google. And so in order to get more traffic, there's a lot of things we can do, which directly or indirectly impact a website appearance in search engine results page. So one of the things that I do is optimize content on the website. Like, for example, I make sure that keywords are included within the content on the page. And I also make sure that content stays fresh, because outdated content can negatively affect a website's credibility. Like, for instance, I am now working on optimizing old blogs, and some of them need a complete rewrite. Some of them are too old and irrelevant and need to be removed. And for some of them, minor edits or updates might be needed. And also, when a new web page is added to the website, I make sure that it is like user friendly. The site structure is not negatively affected. Yeah, and stuff like that.
I've actually got a question about so updating website pages. I don't know the answer to this, but you're talking about something. I'm curious. Do you, if you just go into, say, a blog article and change the date, because you can always change the date published.
Yes.
Will that be considered by the search engine to be updated, or can it tell when you've made like noticeable updates to the actual content of the page?
You mean when you only change the date, not the content?
Yeah, because like, let's say you have content. It's like 10 reasons why you need why you should invest in roadside assistance. Mm-hmm. That is probably pretty evergreen. It will be fine for a number of years. So you don't really need to update it. But what do you do in that? But if you just sort of go in and like page updated and then you change the date, is that enough, or do you have to do some more edits to that sort of
content? If it's an evergreen content, I would say that it's not a concern for search engines itself, but it might be a concern for a user. So when you as a user land on a page and see the date on the page, if you think that the content is not new, you wouldn't trust that content. It's more about user experience. Yeah.
Is there, as a general principle, like that you've heard research on, is there a certain, like, how long people will go before they trust the content less?
There is not an actual number for that, but I would always say that, don't keep content which is under like 2 years old on the website. Don't keep that content. We should always update them.
Got it. So that could be a big job if the website has a lot of content, if it has many pages and posts and everything on it.
Yeah, and especially if no one hasn't worked on those, so it's going to be a lot of work, especially for large websites. Yeah.
Got it. So are the websites that you work on large? So you said you talked about it from a kind of an overall level. Maybe get a little more specific. Like, is there, like, what does a week look like, or a couple weeks look like in your role? What do you typically do?
So sometimes, most of the time I need to be proactive. It's not like people will reach out to me to update a certain page. So I will usually keep an eye, I use Google Analytics to keep an eye on the pages which have high traffic. And if I see any optimization opportunity, I will always reach out to the respective team and say that, there is some opportunities on this page. For example, we can optimize content, we can optimize titles, heading structure, the flow of content on the page. And sometimes I even create a mock-up because it is easily understandable instead of just writing some text for them. And then if I get their approval, they will go with those recommendations.
So this is talking about the organic search. This is interesting because and maybe this is recency, we've had a number of folks on the show recently who work on paid advertising campaigns. And there's a bit of a different way of they talk about it. There's like dealing with clients and timelines, right? Because campaigns have a start and an end, and they're very like project management-y. It almost and you're doing I know, project management in addition to your work managing clients. It almost sounds like you're a bit of a detective, right? It's like they know you're there, you've got this expertise, and you're like spending your time, some of it in Google, trying to go, okay, what page can we work on? Oh, I found something here, let's do this. Like it almost sounds like detective work. I don't know, as opposed to like working to all these deadlines that other people are
exactly
doing.
Exactly.
The paid part is probably different, but the organic, it's like you're like a detective.
Yeah, exactly. There is not usually a deadline for SEO people, but you have to always keep an eye, for example, on how competitors are doing. For example, you see that a competitor is ranking for a keyword that it's also relevant to you. So what you're doing wrong, what you can do better. Yeah, as you say, it's kind of like a detective work.
And then with how have you, since I know you mentioned it's a bit new, how have you started to integrate some of the paid search into your role where it's maybe more deadline driven? How do you manage through both of those?
As I said, I'm not managing Google Ads myself. Another person in the team does that. Right now, I'm just learning how to do it. And I don't think it's easy because we are running a lot of ads, especially search ads. And I still don't have enough knowledge about that.
Got it. Okay, so you're still really mainly focused on the SEO,
yes,
leading that SEO piece. Okay. So what are some of the let's start with maybe the human skills. We talk about detective work. What are some of like the human skills that you need for doing this work successfully?
For human skills, I can say that communication is super important, especially for me as an in-house SEO. So when I say I'm in-house, it means that I'm the champion of every recommendation I make. And mastering this skill can go a long way to getting things implemented. I had to be able to educate clients on complex SEO concepts, presenting data in an engaging way, and also talking differently to different people.
Yeah, SEO, it's very technical, and I'd imagine it's like speaking another language to a lot of people. So you're taking this and having to interpret it in a way that makes them respond and then take your recommendation for what you need to implement.
Yeah, because, as an SEO, you definitely know a lot of acronyms or jargons, but you need to be careful to not to use them too, because many people have no idea what they mean. So this was a big challenge for me, but it is very important because you need to convince your clients, your stakeholders to implement those changes. And this is a very important skills that you need to be a master of.
So other than the human skills, maybe some of like the market, like the marketing software tools, what are some of those things that are commonly used by an SEO day to day?
So for the tools, I can say the three main tools are Excel, Google Analytics, and Google Search Console. These are the three main tools that you need to be using as an SEO, but there are also other tools, especially if you're working for a large organization, you need to have, you need to be able to work with an SEO tool as well. Right now, we are working with Bright Edge. It is a tool that we can do keyword research with, competitor analysis. It even gives page level recommendations. And you can create dashboards and be able to manage your data and reports based on your needs. And also you might be using Crawler tool. Crawler tool is a tool that is used for auditing common SEO issues, like for example, finding broken links, missing titles, the issues with site architecture and these stuff.
So it's pretty, how would you, it sounds pretty technical. Is it?
One aspect of SEO, yeah, is technical, and you need to also work with developers sometimes as well.
Got it. So you work with the developers for more technical, you're doing, I know there's many layers to SEO that
yes,
that are involved, but those folks are there. So I want to maybe quickly talk about your past. So you have a master's degree in polymer engineering, and now you're an SEO. So what prompted the shift to get into digital marketing and SEO specifically? And does any of your like past experience or background help you as an SEO? And I love how you call yourself an SEO. Like, not, it's funny. I'm like, okay, we're just going to call you Reyhaneh, the SEO, the search engine
it's actually
optimist,
right? Yeah, exactly. It's not wrong.
Yeah, I like it. Sorry. So tell us about your, that background, that progress.
Yes, as you said, I have a master's degree in polymer engineering. So polymer engineering is mainly about chemistry. It wasn't really something I liked, but regardless, I had to work for several years in that field. But there was a point when I decided, I don't want to do something that I'm not enjoying doing. And so I started working at a startup company as a digital marketing coordinator. When I was back in Iran, I was back home. And so I realized that this is really what I'm going to go for. And that was when I started reading about SEO, and it was the field that I was specifically passionate about. And so I was like, this is the one thing that I want to pursue. Yeah.
And what was it that's, go on.
Sorry. And when you mentioned if it helped me with my current role, yes, then because as an engineer, you have to be able to work with a lot of data. And so that knowledge and that skill definitely helped me with my current role, because now I have to work with a lot of numbers. And this wasn't something that was new to me. I have been learning that since I started studying engineering.
Was that one of the things that appealed to you to do SEO? Like, what was the spark that you're like, yeah, like SEO is my thing in digital marketing?
Because I think it's because I really love paying attention to details. And as an SEO, you need to be able to see all those details and how to improve them in order to improve your ranking. So there are three aspects to SEO: technical, on page, which is the content that users can see on the page, and also off page, which is the backlinks you get from other websites. There is a lot of little elements about SEO. And so that was the part I was really passionate about. And that was the main reason.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? If you can do all of the little details, like they truly snowball on each other to make a single page strong.
Yes,
But it really
exactly.
is in those little details.
Yeah. And another thing is that I think SEO is always mysterious. Everything is confusing, but at the same time, I really enjoy it because Google will not release like what factors are important for SEO, will not reveal the exact factors that you need to do to make yourself rank. And so you need to always have user in mind, and see that see what you're doing improves user experience at the end.
Yeah, it's one of those things because it's behind the scenes. It doesn't tend to get a lot. I don't think a proportionate amount of talk or even hype in what people tend to hear about marketing. Social media, because of how visible it is, it like sucks the oxygen out of the room. But I'm a fan of organic. I'm a fan of websites. I love what SEO does. Like it's it's the engine, right? The organic piece. And if you can get into these details and really make these pages work, it just keeps delivering ongoing benefit for the brand.
Yep, exactly. And there's a lot of things that you do behind the scenes that users won't see. So for example, sometimes you want to add a snippet of code to improve your visibility on search engines. I don't want to go into much details about that because they're too technical, but
Yep.
yeah, there's a lot of details for SEO.
So let's maybe talk a bit more general about marketing, something related to SEO, but what keeps you up at night or is on your mind about marketing right now?
So I think online search habits and behaviors have shifted a lot recently, and they continue to change. And Google needs to keep up and make improvements on how search results appear. For example, people's attention span is getting shorter and shorter. It means that people want to find information quickly. And also more and more people are using voice search. People are submitting longer and more conversational search queries. And also people want to receive advice or opinions from other people. For example, when they want to purchase a product or experience a service. So Google needs to keep all that in mind and needs to be able to show the results based on the user's intention.
So I'm just curious about the voice search. So people are using longer questions, longer than they would even possibly type in a question, longer for voice?
I mean, not necessarily longer that they can type in, but it's that people are asking like a long question and they expect an answer for that. And sometimes Google can do that for us. Like, for example, I don't know if you heard about like featured snippets. Featured snippets is what a short snippets of text that appear on top of the Google search results in order to quickly answer a searcher's query. So you don't need to click on anything.
Yeah.
The answer to your question just appears right away. And this is the part that Google can read the answer for you. And this is very interesting. So I think that Google is really trying to improve that aspects of search because more and more people are turning to voice search, and that's when featured snippets in Google search appears.
So Reyhaneh, let's talk a little bit more about getting to your day one, a bit more about your job search journey. So how did you get this job with CAA? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So as I mentioned, I knew exactly what I was looking for. It was SEO. So I was pretty sure that I'm not gonna go for positions other than SEO because this mindset came from experience. I studied polymer engineering and had to work for several years in the field of chemistry. I felt drained all the time. So I didn't want to get down on that path again. But at the same time, it was I had to tell myself that it's going to be really tough for me. But I could get a fair amount of interviews. It was, I think it was because I had some experience in digital marketing, as I mentioned, at a startup company. And every interview was an opportunity for me to learn. I think I got a lot of rejections after interviews. Rejections are bitter, but they are always inevitable. But I could learn from every interview. And at the end, I could land a job at CAA.
So when you, with CAA specifically, how did you find them with a job posting? Where was it? And then how did like the interview process unfold? Was it pretty typical? Like a traditional typical process, or was there anything interesting about it?
Okay, so I founded the job posting on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn was the main platform I used to do job search. And after that, it was Indeed. But I was mainly spending time on LinkedIn. And so I applied for it and I got an interview. And actually, the interview was not really too formal, just like the questions that you see, everywhere. But it was like more kind of a friendly one. And they would ask about my personality, what I would do if I get into a stressful situation, something like that, questions like that. And I remember that one of the interviewers asked me a few questions about SEO. So since I had a knowledge of SEO, I could answer those. And exactly one of the questions was about feature the snippets, which I mentioned before. And it was very interesting. And yeah, it was not too formal. And I really enjoyed the interview process.
It sounds like you keep mentioning SEO. It sounds like you were pretty focused and pretty prepared to have these SEO role-based interviews.
Yes, because I have already read through blogs. I always try to keep myself updated, because when you are an SEO, everything changes so quickly. So you need to always be reading about different aspects of search engines when Google updates its algorithms. Yeah, that's an important part of being an SEO.
So what was the hardest part of the job search?
Hardest part was definitely to keep myself motivated after all the rejections, and above all that, not self criticizing, because I knew that sometimes I was so stressed during the interview, I would stumble over my words, had a dry mouth, shaky voice. But after those interviews, I tried to reflect on the entire interview, and I would think that you can always turn it into success. I would write down the questions and think about the answers I could have made to those questions. And also I would reach out to the interviewers, ask for feedback. And then I would continue my job search, just focus on the next interview instead of thinking about the past.
This is one of the things, right? Like getting rejected in the interviews, it's part of the process, because by virtue of it, all you need is one successful job. And then the rest is kind of is history, but how you manage not only the stress of the interviews, but those like all of those rejections is it's important. It's a tough thing, but it sounds like I like the idea of reflecting, taking each one, getting it past the stress of the interview, which is always the case, truthfully. But then trying to reflect, remembering the question so you could prepare again, and trying to approach it neutrally so you incrementally might improve with the next interview to better your chances of fewer rejections, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
So one of the common questions that comes up in an interview, I don't know if you had it, but folks, it does, but it's common for marketing, is what's a brand or an organization that you look up to that does good marketing work, and why?
That's a tough question. Does a good marketing work?
Maybe a favorite brand of yours that you've chosen, maybe because of the marketing? Or is there a brand that you, like you said, you look at competitors or other, and search can be maybe tricky, but do you get inspiration for the work you do as SEO from other brands that you can bring into what you do with CAA?
Yes, because we have some competitors, like for example, so our company provides insurance as well. So we have competitors in that area, like for example, TD Insurance. And sometimes I just go through their website to see, how they are doing and why they are always ranking first. And interesting thing about that is that they are always trying to, trying to be clear to the users, explain things in as much details as they can. Like, for example, they will explain what is car insurance, like simple question like that. Or why do you need, for example, home insurance? Even though it might sound like for beginners, but people always are looking for those informations. Sometimes people really don't know like that much detail about like why they need a certain kind of insurance. So I think it's very important to be as clear as possible to the users, because they will trust more in you and your brand, and they will know that they can always turn to your content if they want to seek information, even if they don't want to make a purchase. They can get valuable information from your brand, from your content.
So one thing you mentioned earlier is people are having shorter attention spans, but then when I hear you talking about this and like answering the questions, it almost sounds like the content is more detailed. How do you balance attention span with the right amount of information? Like it, or is with search is longer form content better? Like, yeah, how do you manage that attention span depth type of tension?
So I think the way you present your, for example, your copy is very important. You don't want to go for long paragraphs. You always should try to use bullet points because it's always easier to read. Sometimes if paragraphs are long, you can highlight some of the words in bold, so that it's easier for users to notice them. You just don't have to, I don't know, throw a bunch of text onto your web page. You need to think about the user, and also try to use visuals. If you think that video is important, just incorporate one video into your web page. Always think about the user, I would say.
Yeah, those are good practices. Going away from long kind of walls of words to thinking about the formatting and breaking it down into different parts, shorter sentences, bullet points, like you said, different media to deliver those messages as well, video, words, whatever. It's interesting. I'm a fan of the organic side and content marketing and SEO.
Actually, I remember this from your class. Yeah.
It's just and you know what? Like, if I had a do-over, I don't have any regrets. But one of the things I didn't work in as, I think if I could explore it again, being an SEO would be something of interest, because I like the idea of what it does, and really it's like helping people, right? The organic search, helping people with those, with the and content versus advertising. I like what content promises. So
Yeah.
and there's lots of different ways to do that. All these little things, it goes back to all the little details on page and behind the page to get people and keep them interested with the brand.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's start to bring things together here, Reyhaneh, with some things you've learned along the way in your year one. Is there a common rookie mistake that you see in people who work as an SEO or in the industry in general?
Yes, it might be one of the mistakes that I personally made when I started this job, because I wasn't used to working in such a big organization. I think as an SEO, it is very important to use simple words when you want to explain things to different teams and different people. You need to avoid using jargons and acronyms. It might be tempting for you to use them because there is a lot of acronyms when you work as an SEO, but you need to be really careful. I remember that when I was presenting something to a different team, I was talking about backlinks, and then I realized that some of them don't know what a backlink is. And because just because I know some things by heart doesn't mean that the audience also knows about those. And so you always have to explain acronyms if you want to use them. It is very important to make a connection and not to sound like you're showing off your knowledge.
So maybe let's dig into this a little bit more. How did you figure out that folks didn't understand what you were saying when you're talking about backlinks? Were you like, could you read the room, or was it after and someone was like, hey, we didn't really understand the backlinks thing?
Actually, my boss was in the meeting as well, so I wasn't looking in the faces, but my boss suddenly said, oh, sorry, do you know what a backlink is? And a lot of them said, no, we don't. And I was really surprised, but yeah, my boss was really paying attention to their faces. And so after that, I explained to them what the backlink is. Yeah.
You know what? I feel like that sounds like a good that was a good way of the boss to kind of play it and give you the opportunity to do that. So
Yeah.
it sounds like a quick turnaround in a good way for that situation.
Yeah, it was.
So is there a lesson or lessons you might have learned in your year one, something that was good or not so good maybe, or even something surprising or you didn't expect?
I think especially if you are working at a big organization, you need to practice patience. You cannot expect to get things done fast. Sometimes even small changes require you to wait a long time because it has to go through several teams and people, and you need to get approvals before implementation. I think this is very important. You need to really put your frustrations aside. You don't need to be in a hurry to get everything done as quickly as possible, because it's not really doable in big organizations. And also you need to accept the fact that sometimes the suggestions you make might be rejected. or not doable depending on the resources. Yeah.
Can I maybe just ask you, I'm getting curious here. So in the work that you're doing, right, you're this detective, people they don't know what they don't know. So you're bringing recommendations to them, and you've got some recommendations out there. How do you manage through, maybe like you've made 5 and you're waiting for them, but your work is still going, and then you come up with another 5, and like just managing that flow if you have to wait on folks? Like, do you get like this backlog often, or do you just sort of figure out, oh, I need to follow up with them, like, yeah, how does that all work to kind of move these things to some conclusion, either implementation or not?
It is very hard for me, honestly, but I think it is something that comes with working in big organizations. So if something doesn't get done and a lot of time has passed by, then I need to submit maybe a new set of recommendations. And if it was something that they didn't already work on, then it will be, I think it will be the best approach I will do about this thing. But patience is very important, as I mentioned. Sometimes I really cannot do anything about that. And I have to work through unexpected situations, and I have to keep a calm and positive outlook to, get the job done at the end.
So final note, is there a tip that you can share, a piece of advice for somebody who's working to their day one in marketing?
I would say
or a piece of advice you'd give yourself going back a couple years?
I would say, okay, I can mention this one. I would say you shouldn't hold back your opinions. It's especially for those people who like imagine, because sometimes I personally do that, imagine worst case scenarios when they give an opinion they are not 100% sure of, because you're not supposed to know everything, but you need to be comfortable with expressing your perspective. So I would say, don't be so afraid of making mistakes or saying something wrong. Even if you're wrong, you can always come back to those people and say, sorry, this is an accurate response, but don't hold yourself back just because you don't have the data or you want to find the perfect words to describe your ideas. So to be on the safe side, you can just say, this is my assumption or interpretation. But what I'm saying is that you need to understand your resistance to speaking up in meetings. You need to learn to push past those fears, and always trust that your ideas are good enough to mention in the meetings. You can always refine them later.
I love that. Your ideas are good to mention, and you can always build and refine on it later. That's your mic drop. Wonderful tip. Reyhaneh, it was wonderful to chat with you. Thank you very much for investing your time with the Year One community, telling us about being an SEO. I love that, being an SEO. Before you go, let people know where they can find out more about you. If there's any work that you're sharing online, what's the best place to do that?
The best place is LinkedIn. So do you want me to spell my link, or?
We'll give the link in the show notes. If LinkedIn is the best way to do it, someone can just click on that, and it's easy as that.
Yeah, I think the LinkedIn is the best way if people want to be in touch with me.
Got it. Well, remember, friends, getting a job, any job, isn't easy, but there's a role out there for you. And if you're curious about search engine optimization and the detective work that it involves, folks like Reyhaneh and I are here to help you understand and discover it and ultimately get whatever that dream job is. So thanks for joining us and look forward to seeing you next time.